Hey. Oh my, I'm sitting on my sister. Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Yanike. If you're new here and you like my content, please consider subscribing at some point during this video. In today's video, I wanted to lend my voice to thoughts about this new app. Well, it's relatively new, fairly new app called Clubhouse. I do have some strong opinions about Clubhouse, but then again, I'm an Enneagram type 4. We have strong opinions about everything. So in my opinion, there are some pros and some cons to the app. So if you're interested, please stick around. So let's start with the benefits that I can see from having this app on your phone. For me, the first one is networking. It's a very good tool for networking, talking more with people from your industry, having discussions, finding out what's going on, you know, all that good stuff. Clubhouse is a really good place for networking, so I'll give it a plus when it comes to networking in your industry. The second thing I quite like about Clubhouse is that you get to have lots of in-depth conversations. So I like the fact that you can hear the varied opinions of lots of different people. I've seen rooms where you've got like 1,000, 1,000, you know, 2,000 people in one room. So you do get to gauge a lot of different opinions. I also like the fact that in comparison to YouTube, podcasts, all these other social media platforms, like I said, you can go on forever about certain topics if that strikes you. And I love the fact that you're not limited to time. So with YouTube videos, for example, I have to say what I have to say quickly in 10-15 minutes and get it over and done with, edited, perfectly packaged. You don't have to worry about those kinds of issues when it comes to Clubhouse. So everything is kind of straight to the point, uncut, raw, authentic. So I'll give it props for that reason. I also love the fact that you get to have quite diverse conversations in terms of reach. So I was in a room the other day, they were talking about Nigerian marriages. You know, I do listen to some different kind of content. So they were talking about Nigerian marriages and, you know, the conversation took a really detailed, in-depth tone. So people from various parts of the world called in, you got to hear different opinions and you really get to understand things on a grassroots level. So I love the fact that you get to have conversations that are very wide-reaching in terms of the different opinions that you're able to garner, various areas of the globe that you're able to kind of gauge opinions from. So for that reason, you get to have lots of really good conversations. So I give the app props for that. Another thing for me personally that I like about the app is you get practice with your public speaking. Now, I don't know if you guys have been, or anyone watching this has been on the app. You know, I do like often wonder, how do these people just know how to get, you know, they've managed to understand how the app works, you know, I'm on stage and whose hand is up. Everyone's figured all of that stuff out very quickly. I love kind of, I'm a person that loves to listen to people speak. So if you're that kind of individual that you like to consume content in an you like to consume your content in an auditory fashion. Like I love podcasts. I find videos can be a little bit too much in terms of how much it takes from me. I'm just weird like that. You love Clubhouse for that reason. So yes, I'm always in awe that people can just jump on stage and they're able to speak so fluidly, able to express themselves so completely, so professionally almost. They just naturally have that skill. So if you struggle in that department like I do, I get social anxiety. When I used to study at uni, I would be the person worrying for weeks and weeks about presentation. I'd be crying and praying when it was time to do that presentation, like, God, please let my voice not tremble, you know, all of the things that are associated with social anxiety and a fear of public speaking. Practice on Clubhouse. That's the best way, in my opinion, nowadays to get your feet wet when it comes to public speaking. So those are the things that I personally like about the app from the offset. Let's get into the things that I'm not so fond of. The first thing is that it's time consuming. You could be on this app for all eternity. I've seen rooms running for like 24 hours. It's really time consuming. You're looking at having conversation for hours. If you don't limit how much time you spend on that thing, you can become addicted to it. So, and you will hear other people say this as well. It takes up a lot of your time. Is that necessarily time that you have to spare. And you know, this is the thing to consider about time. If I'm giving that amount of time to Clubhouse, an hour here, 2 hours, 3 hours, where is that time coming from? You know, we have a limited amount. Everybody has the same 24 hours. Don't they say, you know, Beyonce has the same 24 hours in a day that you do? Right? So if you're giving this time to, you know, conversations on Clubhouse, where is that time coming from? Are you actually spending your time productively? Is this a productive use of your time? So for that reason, it doesn't really float my boat when it comes to an app that I could really get on board with. It's just way too time consuming. Another thing that puts me off the app is the fact that I feel like everybody is selling something. When you go on the app, yes, you can have conversations and people talk in detail about things, but you have to bear in mind there's no such thing as a free lunch. There is no, my economics teacher used to always say this, there's no such thing as a free lunch. I find that when I do join in a few conversations, when I have done in the past, people are always pushing something, or they're trying to build their social media platforms, or they're just trying to get themselves out there. You know, everybody wants to be somebody. Me personally, that really put me off. I just want to have simple conversation that's genuine and, you know, authentic, without there being some kind of hidden agenda. So, you know, you will find a lot of that on Clubhouse, people pushing their products, pushing their services under the guise of conversation. Now for me, where I am in my personal journey as somebody who is building a business, I'm a certain age, you know, I'm in the middle of my life, trying to not go through a midlife crisis. I'm very careful of how I'm managing my time and managing my mental resources. I'm at a space in my life where I'm very careful about the things that I consume. And this is a trend that I have seen, and it's, you know, it's more pronounced when it comes to Clubhouse. I think if we're not careful, we'll just continue to consume and never produce anything. So this is one of the issues that I have with Clubhouse. More or less everybody's an expert. I'm not trying to suggest that everyone thinks they're an expert, but I know I've been in that place where in the past I'm trying to run a business, I'm trying to grow a business, I'm trying to find out all the things that I need to learn, all the things that I need to know from the experts. But there comes a point where you have to draw the line. You have to step in, tap into your own knowledge, lean on your own understanding, tap into your own intuition and do things for yourself. I'm realizing that now we have a culture of people wanting to be shown everything, wanting to be told everything. At what stage do you actually do the work? So, you know, I'm speaking from experience, like I said, where before I was trying to build a business and I had to draw the line where I realized, hang on, you just keep hearing about people building businesses and listening to the people that have built their businesses and trying to find out to the last nail, to the last detail, everything that you need to do. At what point do you actually do the work? So I think that's what we have to be careful of with platforms like this, is that we don't fall into the trap of just excessive and incessant consuming, listening to experts, because to me that feeds the whole idea that you don't actually know anything. You always have to seek understanding and knowledge from outside of yourself, when really and truly we know that's not true. We all have a wealth of knowledge inside of each and every one of us. So you know, it gets a big fat X from me in that regard. Another thing that puts me off about Clubhouse and similar apps, to be honest with you, is the fact that, have you guys not realized the world has gotten really loud? Like, the world is so noisy. The other day I literally sat down to meditate and I realized, because when you're meditating you have to try and silence your mind. I could not silence my mind. I couldn't silence my mind. My mind was just thinking about all these small random things, and I know for a lot of people they don't meditate. So meditation is a time when you get to sit with yourself, inside yourself, to see what's actually going on within you. It's a practice that I participate in every morning before I start my day. except for the weekend. Yeah, so essentially my thing is how will you actually silence your brain? Now for myself as an entrepreneur and a business owner, I know it's very important for you to have that creative space in your mind. If your mind is too loud or too busy, there isn't actually any room for you to think or create, because obviously it's too full. It's too full of shit. So ultimately, Clubhouse gets a big no from me in that regard, because it just adds to the noise that's already out there. And half of it is information you don't even necessarily need to know or have. Yes, some of the conversation is riveting, inviting, exciting, blah, blah, blah. But do you actually really need to know? This is just like people that tell me to watch the news, which I don't, and neither should you. They're like, well, how will you know what's going on in the world? Do you need to know? My ancestors didn't even know what was going on in the next town. So why do you need to know everything? So at some point you need to draw the line. So in that regard, Clubhouse is a no from me, because it's just simply too noisy and adds to the noise that's already out there. Okay, and lastly, for me, the reason why Clubhouse is a no, and this is really the biggest reason, and it's gonna sound quite elaborate, but that's just how I think. I believe that apps like Clubhouse really furthers the destruction of mankind. I'm just gonna put it out there. You know, it's literally too much. If you guys haven't realized, most of our social interactions, nearly all of our interactions, are now happening behind a screen. That's extremely unhealthy. In the past, for example, especially in regards to Clubhouse, if we're keeping it specific, these conversations would happen in your house, with your cousins and them, with your aunties and them, with your friend them. Like, you would all gather together and have these conversations. Or you'd have these conversations at school, maybe at work, you know, whatever. The fact is, if you divert the ability to have those conversations away from real physical environments and you put them behind a phone, people get accustomed to it. Another example is, usually take counsel from your mom, your cousins, your aunts, you know, whatever. These are the people that you used to refer to if you have some kind of life problem, if you have something you want to discuss, that would be your go-to. Now, we're listening to all kinds of people from all over the world. Yes, the advice might be really good, you know, you might be really getting good quality advice, but what's that doing behind the scenes? How is normalizing this way of conversing, this way of interacting with each other socially, how is that actually affecting our social constructs? How is that affecting how we relate and interrelate with each other as social people? So we're basically siphoning off all of our social interactions to an app. That's essentially what's going on here. And, you know, for me personally, when I heard about Clubhouse and I decided, okay, let me try and get on it, I thought, okay, I'm not going to get on it because I don't exactly know anybody that's already on there, because that's how the app works. You have to be recommended by a friend or whatever. And I said, okay, fine, I'll just send off an invite, send off the link to try and be accepted onto the app. So I just sent it off and left it there. Literally within 2 hours, I was accepted, because I didn't know how the app worked at the time. But because I had a friend, they let me in. They saw that I was trying to come in, so they just let me in with one of their passes. I've heard of people trying to buy their way into Clubhouse, trying to buy passes, you know, trying to get in all kinds of dubious and unscrupulous ways, because their networks are shallow. Everybody knows somebody. So if you're at the stage in your life where you cannot find at least one person on an app, where millions of people are already on these apps, you can't find one friend that knows a friend that knows a friend that can let you on. To me, that's a problem, because that's really highlighting the fact that we don't know nobody. We don't know each other. We actually just have these networks and social media, but when it comes to having someone's actual phone number, when it comes to actually building strong interpersonal relationships with people that you actually know, that's not happening. So for me, this is the biggest problem that I have with Clubhouse. It's the fact that it's contributing towards this trend of siphoning off all of your social relations to an app. Everything is now governed by some kind of app. You cannot relate to each other socially anymore without it being under the governance of some kind of app. And I have a problem with that, because I believe in creating the world how you want to see it, how you want the world to be. It's your responsibility to create that world. I don't want to live in a world where we're just completely governed by artificial intelligence. And that's exactly what's happening here with apps like Clubhouse. You're basically putting your entire ability to relate to other human beings behind a computer or behind an application. And I'm not about that life. So for that reason, Clubhouse is on my phone. I will go on every now and again if I just want to hear some interesting conversation. Like I said, I love to listen to people speak. But in terms of me being on it on a daily basis, trying to build up a brand, trying to do all the things, no ma'am. I think we all have to be careful of what's actually going on behind the scenes. Yes, I would suggest that if you, like I said, for reasons mentioned before, if you want to practice your public speaking, if you want to get some more in-depth information with boundaries, that draw the line somewhere. If you want to grow a network, by all means, use the app with reason. However, just to be sitting there mindlessly consuming content, going on and investing all of this time, I would advise people to be very careful, honestly, because you don't know the kind of world that your attention is actually creating. We're actually building a new kind of world with the things that we decide to make a reality, the things that we decide to make trends. Because without us, these things will not happen. So that's my fear. My big fear is that people don't actually understand what's going on in the background. I can't remember what that documentary is called, The Social Experiment or something like that. There are big things going on here. This is not just entertainment. We are shaping a new world and we're creating by our behaviors. So, think wisely before you start investing in apps like this and more apps to come. I encourage people to draw the line, find the boundary and find the balance. Thanks for listening to this video. Subscribe if you like my content, like this video if you liked it, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.